let's talk about monetization. What was the number that Morning Brew hit? That, oh, okay, wait, we have some brands reaching out. Oh, wait, maybe we should consider our own ways of monetization. Because it's so strange. There's always this conversation of, oh, if your revenue is based on advertising, you're screwed. But at the end of the day, it's like, it's always a thing. That's not going to disappear. That's not going to, I do think there's an interesting world that's emerging of businesses becoming their own content hubs. And yes, maybe there's a world where they don't need to reach out to other people as much, but people will always have an audience, will always have value to exchange. Therefore, advertising will always exist. So and it's always going to be a balance, I'm sure.
It absolutely is. And I think there's also a really important part of this conversation, which is not doing business with bad partners. Like, we are really careful about the kind of brand partners that we allow to be in the newsletter and on the podcast as well. It's typically never a partner that we wouldn't work with outside of our life at Morning Brew, that we wouldn't buy something from, or that we, don't have like a credit card from this company. I will say that they had monetized the newsletter well before I got there, but there was definitely a pretty distinct shift as the newsletter grew in terms of subscribers, and got more attention of partners going from just being these like startup-y kind of companies that could get ads on the cheap in a newsletter to the big like financial institutions and huge companies, and it's crazy to think about that sometimes, that we have grown so much to attract that kind of ad attention. But I think it also speaks volumes to that philosophy of advertising, that this is going to be part of our revenue model right now, and that's just reality. If you want a good product, you have to at some point monetize it, and it's worked for us. But at the same time, we're a bootstrap company. We want to make sure that we have other ways of bringing money through the door. So that's been a big priority in the last 6 or so months.
Do you guys not have VC money?
No. Just
Oh, okay. That makes me like you guys even more. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, you just hear about, these huge, like the Skim and all these newsletters and stuff raising so much money, which is fine. But I'm like, okay, well, what literal scalable technology are you building that is going to return these investors billions of dollars?
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Yeah, to work at a very profitable bootstrapped media startup is not a sentence I thought I would say.
Yeah, no, and that's so fantastic, because especially right now you hear all of these stories of just people going under and people getting laid off. And maybe it's the fact that you guys were born out of, like you said, bootstrap. You didn't have crazy funding, so you don't have thousands of employees that you have to then backtrack and figure out how to pay them. So I'm sure it is a different environment, but we've seen that content is super valuable. We've seen that these podcast networks are being snatched up by Spotify. So even though I just alluded to a newsletter and content business being more lifestyle, it is a crazy amount of value.
Yeah.
And so with that, I mean, how do you guys see yourself expanding in podcast and video? And I saw one of your founders tweeted out like a casting call.
Yeah.
for a person to host a kind of talk show.
Yeah, we are actively growing just about every part of the company right now, which is a nightmare sometimes. Trying to hire people is really hard, and I didn't know how hard it was until I started participating in it on this side of things. But we're actively growing across the business. And for the podcast arm right now, we are heading into a year of business casual. We started September 2019, and with the success we've had with that show, we realized that we've got this machine that's working really well. How can we use that machine to create another successful show, to invest in some other kind of brand that is offering our readers and our listeners something a little different, but something that still feels tangentially, on brand and on point with Morning Brew and our philosophy and our mission. So that's what we're doing with the talk show. We're really excited about it. We have gotten incredible applicants for the job and are continuing to grow. And I'm sure this is the first new show of many new shows that we will have in the coming months and years. But the same can be said for our newsletter operations too. We now have 3 industry-specific newsletters. We had none when I started. And And I think it, not to sound like super high on my horse here, but this was all started by two college kids who just wanted to make a better product for their peers. You don't have to have that VC funding to be successful and to grow a business. You just have to be really dedicated to the content you're creating and to hiring the right people and staying true to your mission that you started out with.
Let's talk about the beginning. It seemed like it started, very humble beginnings, like you said. And I read in an article that a lot of the growth was from, these kind of ambassador programs on college campuses and really word of mouth. And it's super sexy to talk about CAC and, all of these things. But at the heart of it, if it's something that people love, that word of mouth is huge.
Right.
And so that was like 100, 200K subscribers. Where did the monetization happen? Because I imagine, so maybe they're still in college, it's like a passion project, but hey, this actually has legs. What was that switch that was like, this is real?
Yeah, so our two co-founders, Alex and Austin, started the newsletter when they were at University of Michigan. They just wanted to make something that was a better product than trying to pretend in all of your job interviews that you read the whole Wall Street Journal every day, because nobody does that. You're all lying. I did the same thing. I totally lied. But we wanted, they wanted to make a product that people would actually enjoy reading and could get the same kind of information. That's how it started. They then just truly hustled at Michigan and went to all the classes and got people into this referral program, which eventually grew to be a huge, indispensable engine for growth for Morning Brew. Our referral program remains super robust to this day. It's just refer people and get swag, get access to new content, get eventually a sweatshirt. I think right now our highest level of referrals, you get to come to New York, and we haven't done that lately, but we've actually had people who win a trip to New York to meet the team and hang out with us for a couple of days, and people actually do the referring. They want to. They're incentivized by all of that. But
I love doing incentives that isn't necessarily, people don't do it because they're nervous. Oh, I don't have $10 per customer per sign up to give to people. But if you build this community,
right,
people love you guys for you. And a Morning Brew t-shirt, heck yes.
Yeah.
There's definitely other ways to do it.
Absolutely. And we have every now and then we'll do something like a MacBook Pro giveaway or something like that. But
nice.
You're right, it's people who are committed to our brand and have bought into what we're doing who are sharing the most, and that's super important to us. It's an audience that we value deeply. But the monetization happened when these guys took it full time. They realized after a couple of years that, I think it was 2 years, and Austin had just graduated, and both of them had jobs in finance and banking, and they both decided this could actually be something, let's do it full time. That was in 2017 that they decided to pursue it as a career.
The paid newsletter versus non-paid.
Yes.
Are they do you sign up for it and do people pay for it?
All of our
newsletters
are they all are free to get.
Explain to me why you make that decision. Because right now, a lot of people say, hey, I'm going to offer you the cream of the crop news, and only you and 1,000 people are going to have it because, hey, it's $100 a month or something. And to a lot of people, maybe that is worth it if it is very industry specific and it is experts leading away. A lot of, these finance firms do proper research as well, to where they give packets to people in their newsletter. Right. But what was the decision to keep them free?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really common decision to make when, especially in these industry specific newsletters, to monetize them. And instead of basing your revenue on getting advertising partners in there, you're doing it, with what's the thing, 1,000 true fans is really all you need.
Yes.
And I totally believe in that. I think it's just a decision what you want to do. For us, our industry specific newsletters have definitely veered a lot more into original reporting than the everyday newsletter does. That has changed as the company has grown. We have more resources now, so we can do more original enterprise type reporting. But for the most part, we are curating and analyzing the news. We're not breaking the news. We're not trying to get scoops right now. With our industry-specific newsletters, they do a little bit more of that, but it's still trying to make sense of the world around them. It's not, here's why you should pay for this scoop that you could pay for in the Wall Street Journal. It's, I read the Wall Street Journal story. I also read the Bloomberg story and the Business of Fashion story and the Vogue story, and here's what they all had in common or didn't have in common. And so right now we think that that kind of product is better served with an ad revenue-based model, but I wouldn't say no to a paid newsletter at some point. I think that they still have a lot of legs. And it's true about the 1,000 true fans thing. And I think a lot of creators, especially those who are very vocal on Twitter, have seen a lot of success with that. And there's a reason for that.